Hello and welcome to this top 10 video from Football Weekender. I've been lucky enough to experience some of the most heated rivalries in Europe, but I have been woefully ignorant of rivalries on the other side of the Atlantic. MLS is going from strength to strength, so it's time that I checked out who hates who over there. This is the top 10 MLS rivalries. Major League Soccer is less than 30 years old at the time of recording this video, but already some great rivalries have emerged. Due to being such a huge country, local derbies are rare. Only 2 feature on this list, but intercity derbies are more frequent and great sporting rivalries have developed. Before we start, it's important to note that unlike many of my compatriots, I have absolutely no problem at all with the word soccer. In the UK, our biggest football show on a Saturday afternoon is called Soccer Saturday, so I don't see the problem. But just a trigger warning, if you're not comfortable with the S word, I may use it occasionally during this video. Anyway, let's get started with the top 10.
Number 10, Colorado Rapids versus Real Salt Lake.
It's the Rocky Mountain Cup starting us off at number 10. This rivalry got going really quick for Real Salt Lake. Their first ever home match on the 16th of April 2005 was a 1-0 win against, you guessed it, Colorado Rapids. Just 18 months after that first match, another game took place, and this was a more bad-tempered affair. Colorado came out 1-0 winners on the night, but at full time, Colorado player Pablo Mastroni decided to give the RSL fans who'd been abusing him all game a few words back. This did not go down well. Supporters threw anything they were holding at Mastroni and had to be restrained by security. And then, as he left the field, he was also confronted by the angry RSL owner at the time. And both sets of fans have borne a grudge ever since.
Number 9, FC Dallas versus Houston Dynamo.
We're off to the Lone Star State next, and it's a Texas derby between FC Dallas and Houston Dynamo. State pride is always important between the opposing fans, but this one has got crazy on the field too. In a 2007 derby, Ricardo Clark of Houston snapped and volleyed Carlos Ruiz of Dallas whilst he was on the floor. Clark received a 9-game ban for the incident. The match in July 2022 was the most hyped up meeting between the two teams in several years and didn't disappoint, ending in a 2-2 draw and a red card for Dallas. Things also got pretty heated between the players and the fans. Dallas took a 2-1 lead in extra time and goaded the Houston fans, who responded by pelting them with various projectiles. That game should keep things between these two teams pretty spicy for a while.
Number 8, Atlanta United versus Orlando City.
At number 8, we have 2 of the newest teams on our list. Orlando City entered MLS in 2015, and 2 years later they were joined by Atlanta United, who play at the incredible Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Legendary Atlanta striker Josef Martinez stoked the rivalry in 2018 by breaking the MLS single-season goal-scoring record with a winner away at Orlando, and then lauded it over the home fans. Atlanta fans dubbed Martinez the Daddy of the Lions, Orlando's nickname, and unveiled a tifo to remind them of the fact in 2021. This rivalry is a bit of a strange one because the two cities are actually a 7-hour drive apart, and no existing tensions existed, sporting or otherwise. It seems that the rivalry was originally maybe a little bit manufactured, but has quickly developed into a genuine dislike on both sides. So, to the shadowy league figures behind the scenes who started all of this, I'll say one thing: be careful what you wish for, these things can get out of hand.
Number 7, Columbus Crew versus FC Cincinnati.
The Ohio Derby has maybe the best name in world football. FC Cincinnati and Columbus Crew contest their Hell is Real derby. The name comes from a billboard at the side of the road when driving from Columbus to Cincinnati, which states the phrase. Columbus Crew took part in the first ever MLS season in 1996, and it wasn't until 23 years later that they were joined by FC Cincinnati. But this immediately became the biggest game in the calendar for both teams. This rivalry got started even before Cincinnati entered MLS. In June 2017, the two teams met in the Open Cup, and Major League Columbus turned up with a full-strength team at lower league Cincinnati, only to be sent away with their tails between their legs as the lower league team ran out 1-0 winners. I've heard it said that there's a big brother, little brother relationship between the two cities. and both cities think that they're the big brother.
Number 6. LA Galaxy versus San Jose Earthquakes.
It's the California Classico at number 6, one of the oldest MLS rivalries. Both teams were part of the inaugural MLS season in 1996, San Jose under their previous name of Clash. This derby has the most trophies in the cabinet. The two teams have 7 MLS Cup wins between them. The Galaxy hold the record for the most, with 5 to their name, and have had continental success, winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup in the year 2000. The fans produce impressive tifos to taunt each other on Derby Day, and tempers flare in the stands and on the pitch. 2 particularly fiery matches took place in 2012. In the first, the Quakes won 4-3 in a crazy game, ending with a scrum of angry players and a furious David Beckham, and the Quakes mascot somehow involved too, which is this big blue thing. I urge you to seek that clip out, it is very funny. Less funny was the meeting later in the year, with fights breaking out between supporters in the stands, arrests being made, and the Galaxy supporters being escorted from the stadium during the game.
Number 5. New York City FC versus New York Red Bulls.
To the Hudson River Derby next. Initially under their original name of the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars, the New York Red Bulls have competed in MLS since the first season in 1996, but have never managed to get their hands on the MLS Cup. Enter cross-city rivals New York City FC. NYFC joined the league in 2015 and proceeded to lift the MLS Cup 6 years later. Given that the Red Bulls had tried for so many years to get their hands on the MLS Cup, and NYFC just turn up and a few years later win it, that might have stung the pride of Red Bulls fans a little bit. Red Bulls fans taunt NYFC about them playing in a baseball stadium, and NYFC fans taunt the Red Bulls about playing in New Jersey. But there are some similarities. Both teams are part of wider global networks of football clubs. NYFC are part of the City Group, along with Manchester City, and Red Bulls are part of the, you guessed it, Red Bull Group, which includes Leipzig and Salzburg. But the fans have hated each other since day one. Smoke bombs were thrown onto the pitch in the first ever meeting between the two clubs, and an infamous fight broke out between supporters outside a Newark bar. This rivalry is only going to get more intense as the seasons pass, so if we were to do this video again in a few years' time, there's a good chance that this might be number 1 on the list.
Number 4. Montreal versus Toronto FC.
The only Canadian rivalry on our list is right up there at number 4. Toronto FC and CF Montreal contest the Canadian Classique, otherwise known as the 401 Derby. An existing sporting rivalry between the two cities has been established for over 100 years, with the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs contesting one of the most historic rivalries in hockey. The soccer rivalry is a much more recent event, with the first MLS meeting taking place in 2008. Violent clashes between supporters reportedly took place outside Montreal Stadium in 2021, with Montreal taking steps to ban some of their fans from matches as a result. Canada has a reputation as one of the friendliest countries in the world, but the pause button on that seems to get pushed when these two cities meet each other and their sporting teams collide.
Number 3. LA Galaxy versus LAFC.
LA Galaxy make their second appearance on this list at number 3, this time against their cross-city rivals and new noisy neighbour LAFC. Another brilliantly named MLS derby, this one is dubbed El Trafico, after the infamous traffic congestion in Los Angeles. Los Angeles Football Club only entered MLS in 2018, but quickly established themselves as a power in the league by lifting the MLS Cup for the first time just 4 years later. The first match between the two teams immediately became the stuff of MLS legend. LAFC were 3-0 up after an hour, only for the Galaxy to bring on Swedish superstar Zlatan Ibrahimovic as a substitute and stage an amazing comeback to win the match 4-3. Zlatan scoring 2 of the goals. The following year, Zlatan was at it again, bagging a hat-trick in a 3-2 win for the Galaxy. The two sets of fans have quickly grown to dislike each other, initially vandalising each other's murals, and then more recently escalating into physical altercations. As with the Hudson River Derby, this rivalry is only going to get bigger as the seasons pass by. There's a good chance that this will develop into the best rivalry in MLS.
Number 2. DC United versus New York Red Bulls.
This rivalry is all about history and it goes back to the first MLS season in 1996. DC United won the first ever MLS Cup and are 4-time champions, but the last win came in 2004. As mentioned earlier, the Red Bulls are still chasing that first elusive championship over a quarter of a century later. Various incidents have taken place in the Atlantic Cup matches over the years. One of the most infamous was coach Bob Bradley exploiting a loophole in order to get a fourth substitute on the field. The sub had to pretend to be a goalkeeper first. This earned him the nickname Cheating Bob from the DC fans. Another incident took place when New York rebranded themselves from the Metro Stars to the Red Bulls. When the teams met for the first time after the name change, Aleko Eskandarian scored for DC and celebrated by sipping a can of Red Bull and then spitting it out in disgust. Which is great trolling, let's be honest. In a league full of fairly recent rivalries, I think that history counts for quite a lot here, and that's why I've put this rivalry at number 2 on this list.
Number 1. Portland Timbers versus Seattle Sounders.
For anyone who follows MLS, the top rivalry on this list should come as no surprise. The rivalry between Portland Timbers and Seattle Sounders actually dates back to the 1970s in the old North American Soccer League and was then revived in MLS. These are two of the best fan bases in MLS and would certainly put some Premier League teams to shame. These stadiums are loud. And in Portland Stadium, a fan known as Timber Joey saws a slab of wood off a log every time the Portland Timbers score a goal, which is brilliantly mad. Both teams have celebrated success. Portland were MLS Cup champions in 2015, Seattle are 2 times MLS Cup winners and won the CONCACAF Champions League in 2022. Matches between the teams are wild both on and off the pitch. The meeting in June 2015 was particularly crazy, with Seattle having 3 players sent off. The third of those red cards was shown to Clint Dempsey because he tore up the referee's notebook, which again is brilliantly mad. So let's summarise the Portland Timbers versus Seattle Sounders rivalry. We've got history, great fans, great atmosphere, great teams, and a really unique quality. It ticks every box, and that's why Portland Timbers versus Seattle Sounders is number 1 on this list. So that's it. Do you agree with the list? What did I get wrong? What did I get right? What did I miss? Who should have been number 1? Let me know in the comments below all of your thoughts. If you're interested in seeing more rivalries and more Derby Day content, then please check out my video on the top 10 most underrated derbies or my vlogs of some of the most heated matches around Europe. Please don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up like and subscribe to the channel for more top 10s and football weekenders. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.